I got scammed for $1 million, and here's my story. You may have seen the video on my main channel where I talk about how we should have been covered up to $1 million for this lawsuit against Logan Paul because we have what's called media insurance or errors and omissions insurance. The reason I got this, the reason most media companies get this is because of defamation lawsuits, especially if you're going to do original reporting on very rich people and accuse them of things like scamming. You know, people don't take too kindly to that. And many times they will threaten to frivolously sue you. Sometimes they even will sue you, and you have to be prepared to defend yourself. It's very expensive, and so you want some way to do that. So you can get insured for that. You can get insured for defamation. And we've actually used the same type of defamation insurance or errors and omissions insurance to cover ourselves before and successfully done that. This time we thought it would be no different. So when we got sued, I saw a lot of great support from people saying, look, I want to help. I want to help you, kind of like, you should do a GoFundMe or whatever. And I said to myself, well, look, I don't want to do that because I don't need it. And many commenters knew that I had insurance and they said, hey, he doesn't need it. Don't worry. He's got this errors and omissions insurance. I was like, yeah, you're right. That's true. Except then I called my insurance company to put in a claim. I'm like, yo, knock, knock. We've been paying you thousands of dollars a year. Why not? Time for you to pay up. And they promptly called back. They're like, actually, no, we're not going to do that because in the fine print of our policy, your new policy, we've excluded ourselves from defamation claims. So I was confused. I was like, wait, but the whole reason I got this was defamation. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what does this cover if not defamation? They're like, well, errors and omissions. And I'm thinking, what do you call errors and omissions in media? You call it defamation. I mean, if CNN goes on and they make an error about some random person, that person's not going to sue them for the error. They're going to sue them for defamation. So I was confused. I was wildly confused. I go to my policy. I'm shocked to find, yeah, okay, sure enough. Yep, you guys are excluded from defamation. And I'm like, how did this happen? So that requires the full story. So that's the TLDR. Scammed for $1 million. If they had paid out the whole claim, right? That's obviously a big part of this. Ultimately, we paid, I think during the lifetime of this insurance, we probably paid a few tens of thousands of dollars to this insurance. So it hasn't been cheap to pay for insurance that ultimately did nothing. So we, at minimum, got scammed for that amount. If you actually look at the total policy we had, it was up to $1 million. So I don't think it's a stretch to say we got scammed for $1 million. But the full story, I think, is even more interesting. So initially, we had gotten a message from another YouTuber who had just been in a lawsuit. This is how we started getting into this whole thing. And they told us, look, dude, I just paid $250,000. We were small at this time. He goes, I just got paid $250,000 to fight this lawsuit. I'm in the right. It's totally frivolous. This guy knows it. You need to make sure you get this thing called errors and omissions insurance so you can be protected like I wasn't. So we were a small channel, and relatively the insurance was going to be very expensive for us. But I appreciated that, and I thought, that's really wise. If this channel continues in a certain direction, in the type of content that I want to produce, we need to have this. So we found a broker who kind of advertised himself as look, every YouTuber needs defamation insurance. If they're going to be publicly talking about news, about different topics. So you get a hold of this guy and we say, hey, we want that. So he goes, great. So he shops us around some insurance and we pretty immediately find some carriers who are willing to take us because at the time our channel is much smaller. And I would just say it's less risky, so to speak, because the smaller you are, the less people are going to see it. It's just not as big of a risk. So we get covered. And in 2019 or 2020, we get a cease and desist letter from Dan Locke, okay? I'm just trying to remember the year. I'm not so clear about the years, but I just remember we got a cease and desist from Dan Locke. It was one of our first. And the guy showed up at our house, really freaked us out. He's like, hey, are you blah, blah, blah? I'm like, yes. He's like, oh, not you've been served, but here, this is, aha, we got you. So I'm reading the cease and desist letter. It's very angry. Lawyers use that language you have to respond, da-da-da. We're going to take very, heavy legal action against you. So we were freaked out. So I called my insurance, and I was like, ring, ring. Hey, we're getting a cease and desist for defamation. Can you help? They're like, yep, we cover that. That's the whole point of the stuff. That's why you got it. So we're going to get you a lawyer. So we got a lawyer. We fought the cease and desist. It ultimately turned into nothing. In fact, most cease and desist letters turn into nothing. But we were relieved. We were like, okay, great. This stuff works. I'm very glad we have it. So we go the next year, and it gets more expensive, significantly more expensive, this type of insurance, because as you use it, they're like, well, you're a risk now. Now that you've used the thing you paid for, we have to charge you a lot more for it. It's maybe like getting into an accident with like car insurance. But what I find a little unfair about this is we did nothing wrong. like we didn't do anything. In fact, our claims, I think, were fair, and I don't think they were defamatory at all. But either way, the price goes up. We're happy to pay it. We're like, sure, we don't care. As the years go, our channel starts getting bigger, and the channel, from an insurer's point of view, gets more risky, right? They're like, you're bigger, you get more views, therefore, more eyeballs see it. You need to pay more money. Always happy to do that. Fine, whatever. At one point, the insurance company we had been using says, okay, you know what? We actually don't want to do this anymore. For whatever reason, you're not being renewed this year. So we go to our insurance broker and we're like, okay, what do we do? He's like, well, I can shop you around a bunch more policies. What do you want? And we're like, well, we just want similar coverage. He goes, great. So he goes around, they work with a bunch of people, and they're like looking for a while. We can start getting nervous. We start getting close to the deadline of when we have to renew. And because it's kind of a big deal. You don't want to lapse your coverage because then you say something, it's not covered, whatever. So finally, we're getting down to the wire. He's like, look, you know, I do have this one insurance company we can go to. I don't know. They're kind of like, we can go to them. So we're like, yeah, dude, well, anything. Finally, he comes back. He goes, great news. They're going to do it. And we're like, oh, awesome. Is it more expensive? He's like, yeah, it's like 40% more expensive. We're like, we don't care. That's fine. We'll pay it. So he goes, great. Sign this, whatever. And we're good. So we sign it. And we're like, great. Little did I know, these guys had put a special exclusion, 2 exclusions actually that are relevant. The biggest one in this policy was on page like 31, and it said, you know, we are excluded from covering. It's all these things they won't cover. They're like, we won't cover defamation. Now, that's the only reason we're buying the insurance. But we don't see it. Now, there's a lot of like, whose fault is this? Is this the fault of the underwriter for not flagging it? Is it the fault of our broker for not telling us because he's the expert? Is it our fault for not reading the whole all 50-something pages of the contract? We're not insurance experts, but should we have read it? Should we have hired a lawyer, right? I'm not going to get into all of that in this video. The point is, there is this there's this exception in the fine print that we never hear about. And there's also an exception from what they call like digital assets. Like it's like they're excluded from covering it if it's about digital assets. Now, if you've seen my content, all the videos are, well, not all of them, but a lot of videos are about some type of digital asset. So it's like they wrote a policy, charged us 40% more, and then every single part of the policy is like just drawing a box where it's like, we won't cover anything that this channel talks about. So anyway, I mean, I guess that's good business for them if they can get people to like sign it. And it was sent to us like by our broker. They're like, yeah, this is the only guy that'll cover you. Here's the only thing you can get. And we're like, okay, great. So we pay for this for like 2 or 3 years. I forgot the exact, I have to pull up the exact emails of like when we first signed with these guys, but we pay like tens of thousands of dollars for this insurance that does not cover us. So now the whole Logan Paul stuff happens. We call our broker. They say, no. Or, call our broker. They file with the insurance company. The insurance company says, no, we're not going to do that. The broker starts freaking out. It's the first time they've heard of this. They had no idea. This is all in writing too. Like, it's actually crazy what they put in writing. They're like, yeah, we had no idea that this was part of the thing. We didn't know. So, yeah, that's the full story of what happened. I mean, it's kind of tough because by the letter of the policy, it's kind of like, did the insurer do anything. I mean, they just offered us a deal and we took it. So it's more like, okay, well, the broker. Anyway, we're talking to like people because we're like, dude, how can we pay tens of thousands of dollars for insurance that doesn't insure the thing we paid a broker to find us? It's like paying a broker to find you car insurance, and then they like sell you like car insurance that excludes any type of accident that includes something with four wheels. Like that's literally what this is like. But now we're in this crazy position where we're having to like talk to lawyers about if we need to like lawyer up versus the insurance company that's supposed to be paying for our lawyers in the other case. Like, it's so stupid. We're now having to be like, wait, no, I think you scammed us. Also to the broker, like, we're in this ridiculous situation where we should have had insurance to protect us if our insurance didn't pay up, because now we got to talk to all these other lawyers too. It's so frustrating. And by the way, not only are we now having to look at all our options for what to do about all this, I have to read you this, dude. The broker not only admitted he didn't know what was in the policy, he put in writing that the underwriter didn't know what was in the policy. So he says, the quote and email from blank never mentioned that this exclusion was being removed. It's not common for agencies or underwriters to read through every line and exclusion of every policy we receive. So while we could have checked the policy to see that defamation was excluded, some fault lies with the carrier for not disclosing this to us when it was quoted. What? So they're just pointing fingers at each other, but the person actually affected is us. So, and then they also say they not only didn't know what was in my policy, they have apparently may have sold this policy to other people. In another email, they say, it looks like it's going to have to go up the ladder at the insurance company to find out why this wasn't disclosed to us earlier, that this exclusion was in there. I've been told by the underwriter that this has his full attention. I think he might be really concerned because they have a few other accounts with this insurance company. And if this exclusion is on all of them, then it's going to represent a larger problem for their business. So this may have been sent to tons of people who think that defamation is excluded for them as well. And it like actually isn't. I just think this is so crazy to me that we're in this situation, but we are. And ultimately now we're selling shirts. I mean, that's how we got here. That's how we got to selling this very cool, very nice shirt that you should definitely buy, because I haven't even calculated how many shirts I need to sell to make up for this, but it's a lot. Okay. So if you could help out, that would be very appreciated. Pre-order is for 14 days, I believe. We got this shirt. We got a lot more. You can go check it out on the website, coffeezilla.store. But either way, that is the story of how I got scammed. Yes, me, CoffeeZilla, got scammed for $1 million. We got Dylan Danis. We got fine printed, whatever you want to call it. Tough, man. Tough. Let me know if you have a similar story in the comments below, because a lot of people I've talked to actually are like, yeah, I've had the same experience with insurance. Not media insurance, but they're like, yeah, I had paid for insurance that ultimately, I guess that's their job, is to not pay. Like they don't make money from paying out $1 million on a policy that they maybe got paid like $30K for. So they make money from not paying out claims. So I'm interested if you guys have stories below of times where you had something similar happen in your life. I want to know about it. Either way, thanks for watching. You can appreciate a little pain at my expense. I'm laughing because I've had a little bit of time to process this. It's almost been a full month now, so sitting with this. Oh, actually a little over a month. So I can appreciate the irony of the situation. But when it first happened, let me tell you, I was not happy. I was sending some very angry emails. I was like, and yeah, that's basically it. Don't forget, go get yourself a shirt. Thank you, CoffeeZilla. I'm suing. I really got to sell shirts now. All right, goodbye.